of people who pay mortgage interest actually deducted on their taxes.
In Washington and all over the country to look at the fair tax and at least consider it. You know, give it a fair shot. That's all we're asking. And I want to remind you that we will be having a rally as soon as this is over. For those of you who want to get more involved, you can go to fairtax.org. Excuse me, I think it's myfairtax.org. Is that correct? Myfairtax.org. Fairtax.org. Fairtaxnow.org to get more involved on the web.
And we want to remind you that you're welcome to stay for the rally. That's going to be a lot of fun. So just stay put, don't leave, because if you leave out of that seat, somebody up there is going to jump out and grab it. And that's going to take place starting at about 1:15.
And there will be a book signing after that as well.
Starting at about 2. You don't have anything to give away. How many of you brought the coupon and were able to get a free t-shirt? Why aren't you wearing them?
There's no t-shirts. Let's not bring that up.
So I think we only have 200 t-shirts.
It was going to shrink anyway. You know, one thing I've learned about t-shirts from radio stations and anywhere else, they are only important the minute you get them. As soon as you get to the car, they are not important. Please believe me. When you get to the car, you're like, why do I have this? And when you get home, it turns into something to wash the car with. So that's why we give them to you. You know, when you wash your car with shirts. Yeah, that's it. That's it. All right, we're going to get off the mic now and get back to the show. Again, remember, there's a rally right after this. We want to thank you all again. How about a round of applause for you for coming out here? This is a tremendous crowd. What a show of folks out here. This is nice. I mean, look, we got all ages, all colors, all demographics. We got the young, the old, even some people who should be in school. Some people who never went to school. All of the above. Again, thanks for coming out. And we're going to get back to the show in just a minute and keep doing exactly what you do. We do appreciate you. Oh, and you might see yourself tonight on Channel 11 News. Watch Channel 11 tonight. We're on TV.
Cobb Civic Center in Cobb County, Georgia. Outside right now, the fair tax hot air balloon is tethered, and my buddy Bob Wilbanks out there taking care of that balloon. I can see through the window he is having a time because the winds have come up, and it's hard to tether a hot air balloon in these winds. We have a couple of people at the rally that want to ask questions real quick. Yes, ma'am. You look like you're first in line. Here comes Linder with the microphone.
Hi, Neal.
Yes,
I'm Connie. And I would like to find out, are you going to publish a list of anybody in Congress who's not on board with this so that we can swarm them?
The list is there. Congressman Linder can tell you about it.
Thank you very much.
We have a list of people who have signed on to it, the 37 co-sponsors, everybody else is not.
And at fairtax.org, you can track your representatives on the fair tax, and you can also, it gives you the ability to contact them and ask them why they're asleep on this issue. Yes, sir.
And it's got as well, greedy politician is synonymous with that. The simplicity of this is scary, so it starts at 23%. With a stroke of a pen, can it just float up 24%?
You know, at some point in a free society, you got to trust the voters. If you're willing to put people in office who are willing to raise your taxes, shame on you. At some point in a free society, the voters are honest.
Now, Congressman Linder, John answered this question the other day and came up with a brilliant suit. Under our current tax system, if they want to raise taxes, politicians can pick a segment of the society, the electorate, on the House Ways and Means Committee.
We had a hearing a week on it, and we'll have more Tom Delay as a co-sponsor of the majority leader. He has assured me we'll have a vote on the bill in the next, in 2006, and if we have a vote on the bill and it fails, we'll want a campaign on it. And we'll win that.
Hi, Neal. My question is for Congressman Linder. I would like to know if you have a feel for how many supporters it would take to fill the mall in Washington, and then once we do that, what kind of impact will that have on your cohorts in Congress who aren't on board right now with fair tax?
It's going to have a huge impact. We need about, to really fill the mall, we need about 500,000 or 600,000 people. The Promise Keepers have about 1 million on the mall. when Louis Farrakhan had his group, the Million Man March, 400,000 people showed up, and he sued the Park Service for underestimating it. So they've stopped estimating now. My wife and I were there and watched them work the crowd, and I didn't know what they were doing was make appliance-sized cardboard boxes about this tall. And when they all walked off with a lot of green cash in them, we'll try and do the same.
Wait a minute. Refrigerator boxes full of money?
Yeah, yeah, huge.
Oh, I like that idea.
I'm certain that they taxed them.
Oh, I'm going to declare it every time. No, I love the idea of a rally up there, and it scares me to death to put the efforts of fairtax.org into that, and then just, I mean, having it for village. You got to get the buses, you have to get the people. How many million people live within X number of miles of Washington, D.C.?
Probably 10 in the Virginia, Maryland suburbs, and D.C. is about 450,000 people in the city, but there's probably 10 million people in the suburbs.
I mean, it can't be a flop, folks. If it's a flop, then the fair tax bill is dormant. If it is a wild success and you fill them all, there's not a politician in Washington that won't take note of it and will not react accordingly.
Also, we're on a fairly short fuse here. We're going to have a report of the Tax Commission coming out September 30th. Tax reform efforts are there. We're in the midst of discussing Social Security and Medicare reform. If we miss this opportunity, it'll be generations before the opportunity comes back. We need to do it now. We need to do it.
Somebody said to me that the first dollars out there spent on this fair tax book were the first bags of tea into the harbor. Folks, if you run out of time, see you later tonight. Book signing tomorrow, that's hopefully a book signing tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock in Lawrenceville. You people have a great weekend. Thanks for coming out. And then we're going to come out, we're going to have a little rah-rah. We're going to be signing books over here for books that aren't signed. So just hang around, turn around, introduce yourself to whoever's standing next to you, and we'll be right back, okay?
Ladies and gentlemen, News Talk 750 WSB welcomes you to the Cobb County Civic Center for an event that could revolutionize.
Now, I could do what I did last night. At the book signing last night, somebody gave me a pocket knife, okay? So I put the pocket knife in my pocket. Somehow it got opened. So while I'm standing up talking to the book signing last night, I reached in my pocket like this, pulled out my hand, and it was covered with blood. It was a real sight. Yeah. So Belinda has to handle all the sharp objects, and she doles them out to me. Okay, we're getting ready to rip it.
But we're getting ready for the national, I almost called it the wrong thing, the Fair Tax Rally. Right now I'd like to introduce Congressman John Linder and Neal Boortz.
This is a great turnout. It's a great turnout. And let me repeat something you heard us say over and over. You cannot pass a huge idea without a broad national consensus. There are 290 million people in this country, and 200 million have never heard of the fair tax. And it's going to take us all together, moving through that population and convincing them not only is it a good idea for our economy, but it can be done. The attitude, Alan Greenspan told me that an idea this large faces in Washington, the principal opposition is inertia. He said you almost need social unrest to pass an idea this large. So I went and bought a machine gun. No, I didn't. But people like you, the ones who respond to Neal and I in New York on the internet, the 1,000 hits a second, the people who signed up to be volunteers, we've got enough people right here to add 4,000 or 5,000 people to the sign up, because you can get yourself, your family, and your neighbors signed up. And at some point we'll have enough people together to make that march on the mall. I want to repeat one thing. We don't have a lot of time. Some big decisions are going to be made in the next several months. And if we're not in the mix, it's over for the fair tax. So we need your help. You took the time to come here today and listen and enjoy the Bob Terrell's cooking. Thank you, Bob. And this is, to paraphrase a much more articulate person, this is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end. But it is perhaps the end of the beginning. Who said that? Churchill.
Churchill? Okay. Hey, folks, first of all, thanks for, it's Friday. You know, this is time to be heading out to the mountains or down to the beach or getting away for the weekend, and the absolute worst day of the week. There is not a worse day of the week to try to do something like this than a Friday afternoon, because the traffic around here just goes to hell in a handbasket in a real hurry. But yet here you are, and we really appreciate it. This is an indication that maybe we're onto something. When I was sitting down there, and most of this book was written when I was hiding in Naples, Florida, a good bit of time over the weekend. I would do the radio show, and then I would close the doors and draw the blinds and just sit there and work. John was doing the same thing in DC and in Atlanta. Never dreamed that it was going to go here. Let me tell you about Regan Books. Is it Regan or Regan? Regan Books, HarperCollins. Sean Hannity likes this idea, and I told him, I said, we're going to write a book. He said, do you have a publisher? I said, no, we don't have a publisher, but I'm writing a book anyway. He said, let me introduce you to HarperCollins, to Cal Morgan, some of the people there at Regan Books. I said, fine. So he made the introduction. I talked to him on the phone, and they said, John says you want to sign a book or write a book. Yeah. What's it about? Taxes. You could hear him on the other end of the phone. Oh, God. Taxes. And gave him a brief outline of what the book was about. And they said, tell you what, why don't you write another book on some other subject and just make this fair tax idea one of the chapters? I said, no, it's got to be a standalone. This is just too important to make it a throwaway chapter in another book. So they came back and they said, okay, we'll publish this book if you'll sign a contract to write another one called Somebody's Gotta Say It. I said, fine, I want to write the other one anyway. I've been working on that one before this. So they went out there and they thought, okay, an initial printing, this is just a throwaway. We're just keeping Boortz happy and Linder happy. We'll print, 10, 15, 20,000 copies, and we'll let it go. And then the book hit #1 on Barnes & Noble months ago. And the people at Regan Books, they thought, uh-oh, wait a minute, we vastly underestimated this, which means that these New York publishers, come on, let's just admit who we're dealing with, they underestimated you. They underestimated the hunger for something like this, okay? So, you got their attention. The initial printing of this book was 150,000 copies. They have already started making plans to print more. Harper Audio now is, they're waiting for me to sit down in their studio, unless you want to do it. Yeah. And record the whole book so they can get it out on Harper Audio. So they were drunk, kicking and screaming, and now they're just as happy as they can possibly be It is, I think, a guarantee. Sean, who's written 2 of these things, okay, and Sean's been #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. He says it is a slam dunk. This book will debut on the New York Times bestseller list. And he said it may debut as #1. If it does, there's going to be a lot of politicians that are going to see that and are going to say, what in the hell is this all about? A book on tax reform, not a diet book, not a sex book. A book on tax reform has debuted as #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. And I think that they will be swarming into this man's office saying, I want to be on the bill. I want to be on the bill. It is you and the fair tax volunteers across the country and people like you and all the other cities that we're going to do this in. It is up to you. I mean, you have your book now, and we're going to sign it if we haven't already. And you're going to go home and you're going to enjoy a great weekend and you're going to get the case of beer. And it's great. But if you say, wow, that was a good book and we sure did enjoy seeing them at the Civic Center the other night, and then that's it, then the idea dies. This can be a revolution, but it's bloodless. You don't have to go marching through the frozen tundra in New Jersey in the winter of 1776, leaving blood in your trail because you can't afford shoes. You don't need to do that. All you need to do is send faxes, make phone calls, get your neighbors involved, get your civic organizations involved, your clubs, your church, your mosque, your synagogue, whatever. Get these people involved. Say, we are on the verge of something here that can make a real difference in the future of this country. And we can bring about a second revolution, bloodless, if we'll just get out there and put a little effort into it. So, folks, all we do at this point is run our mouths and sign books, but the real legwork is now up to you. And if we can get this rally planned for Washington, D.C., I don't know what you have to do, but find a way to get up there and participate in it. Because I love the idea, but for those of you that are into astrology, how many Aries do we have in the room? We are really good at coming up with ideas, aren't we? And we suck at implementation. So the idea of a rally is great, but the implementation part just scares the skivvies off of me. But you really want to go through and try to make this work, huh? That's all. Okay. Well, now, we're going to go over here and we're going to start signing books, okay? We have to move quick. I've got 2 newspaper interviews this afternoon. John has his things. And so if they've already been signed, God bless you, thank you for coming by. If they haven't, we'll see you over here at the table. And don't throw things at us, okay? We would appreciate it. Anything else you want to say? We'll see you at the table, folks.
Chapter 11, you think you sold over 600 today. Now, real quick, because you're a sharp lady. Dollars. 600 times 25 is what? Pennies into dollars.
Just say it when you want a break, okay?
No, we're fine. I used to be a lawyer, closing real estate loans. Sign my name all day long. John's getting kind of quiet here, though.
Sign it.